Hello, humans, and welcome to another episode of Gen X Gamer. Guys, I'm here to tell you what you need to know, not what you want to hear. If you're an Xbox lover and that's your platform and what have you, well, it's better that I be frank with you and tell you the situation that the company's in. This is going to be a series of two videos. First, I want to vent out my frustration with this project. And before you roll your eyes, this is going to be some financial analysis. But it really does delve into why this ninth generation of consoles for Xbox has been so disappointing, and why specifically, right? Why specifically the Series X has just been a financial disaster. It really has. It really embodies what Microsoft has done wrong in this generation. And I tell you this as an Xbox, aficionado. I have, Xbox 360. I have over 1,500 games between the Xbox and the Xbox 360 and, Xbox One and everything else. So I'm not an Xbox hater. As a matter of fact, look at this. Even the shirts they make today don't compare to the old school greatness. They don't compare, right? But right now I want to talk about the Xbox Series S, which has just been hot garbage, guys. And let's just start off with the design. Whoever came up with this design should just be beat to death with it, right? I just want to get this pound of shit. What were you thinking? How does this even compare to the beautiful 360? A box. As square as possible to keep it cheaper. Was it ever cheaper? No, that's the problem. The Xbox Series S was always the weak point for Xbox. It really shows the culture of Microsoft, right? It shows a culture of bean counters getting involved in the creative process that don't know anything about gaming, right? It's just like, how are we going to do this? We're going to do this like this. No creative people, right? Nobody that was an actual fan of video games or Xbox or the Xbox 360 was involved in designing this right here. Black hole of crap, right? It's functional, right? Let me just say why it was bad for business, regardless of the aesthetics of this hot piece of garbage. The Series X was designed to get you in the door, right? Get you in the Xbox ecosystem cheaply. Now, that decision created structural problems. Let's just remember, of all the games that were stuck in limbo that couldn't be released because they couldn't make it into the Series S, right? The Series S launched at $299. Its bill of materials never fell fast enough. That's the problem. It never got profitable, right? It had a smaller APU, and the savings were offset by custom silicone. Storage costs, they stay stubborn. They're still high, right? So Microsoft really boxed itself with the design of this machine. Even in 2025, after the price hike of $349, at best, the Xbox Series S breaks even. In some regions, it even loses money due to regulations, right? And I won't get into the boring part of that because, it's just going to roll the eyes back behind your head. But anyway, it's been proven that Series S buyers spend less over time, right? The public analyst consensus shows that fewer full-price games are purchased in the system, and it has a higher reliance on the Game Pass discounts, and it's a lower attach rate to DLC, right? You get the volume, but you don't get the premium revenue, which is what you wanted to do in the first place. That's why you made it cheap. That's why it looks like a box. That's why you did everything else, so you didn't get any of the benefits, right? And you're still losing money, right? You barely changed your prices last year twice, and you're barely breaking even. It's just been a bottomless pit of spending for the company. They should just made the Series X and just played around with that. That would have gotten better at time. That they'd lose less money on that because it sells less, and it really drags the platform downward, right? It really has been the catalyst for Microsoft and Xbox's downfall this generation. Right? Developers target the weakest Xbox. The weak spot is the Series S. It requires extra optimization costs, right? Because it doesn't do as well. They have delayed ports, and they have public complaints from studios. Studios are out there saying, we don't want to do it for this because it's just too much of a pain in the butt. That's a problem. That's a problem when, the people that are going to make games for you don't like your console. Series X buyers, they can absorb the price hikes because they're a higher end customer for starters, but Series S buyers cannot. They're buying this to play Fortnite, to play Minecraft, very basic games, and they just have, people are just not spending as much money on them as they do on other consoles, whether it's the Nintendo Switch, PlayStation, or even the Xbox Series X. And that locks the company, when it comes to this console, in a permanent margin crush. They're always under margin pressure because you need to make money. Well, prior to the price hikes, they were losing anywhere from $50 to $100, depending on the edition, per console. And you can't have a successful business like that. You can't lose money, and on top of that, have a crappy looking console. Who I'm telling you, anybody out there could just said, what, we need to do this, and this. Anybody with basic knowledge, any YouTuber could have told you that this wasn't going to work, right? You don't have to have a business degree like I do in order to tell you that. I'm just giving you my opinions as a gamer. I'm not doing business analysis. I'm talking about what's publicly available, right? And I'm telling you this as a Microsoft stockholder too, right? This, for all practical purposes, before the purchases of Activision and everything else, they were never, they were never a significant part of business for Microsoft. And it has to do because of that. The whole, everything else, absolutely everything else got brought down by this hot piece of garbage right here, right? It's not powerful enough. It doesn't have any discs. Developers don't want to develop for it, and even the people that buy it don't spend enough money to offset the cost. Now, they're barely breaking even all these years afterwards. Does that make a difference now? No. No. You already lost the console wars this generation. You're about to just go belly up and just give it all up because you couldn't hack it this generation. And it's all because of this poor design brick right here. And I use it, guys. I use it. It's okay for Game Pass. It's okay for basic games. But, why would you want to buy a console that basically does PlayStation 3 stuff? This generation. It's just absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts. They just went wrong. And I'm not telling you this as a person who hates Xbox. I love the Xbox brand. Right? But just, it's frustration, and I have to let these people have it. How stupid can you be? These are the stupidest people with degrees, and there's plenty of them. Having a degree does not make you smart. Having a degree just means that you went to school and you did all your homework. You can pass with a C, right? That doesn't make you brilliant. And if you don't hire the right people, if you don't hire gamer for these projects, people who actually love playing video games, people who are involved in video game culture, these are the crappy results that you get. And let me tell you something. If Microsoft wasn't behind this company would have been belly up years ago. Because ever since they released this series of consoles, they have been hot garbage as far as the financials. It's just been terrible. I'm not talking about games. I'm not talking about anything else. I'm just talking how they ran this console series as far as a business perspective. It's absolute hot garbage. And the Xbox Series S represents why they completely failed this generation. All right, humans, thank you so much. There's going to be a part 2 to this, guys. I just don't want to make a big, long video because I don't have the time. I have to go pick up my daughter. In a few minutes. So I want to make this one first. I don't know if I'm going to put the other one tomorrow or today. I don't know how much time I'm going to have. I got to come home and make a pizza. I'm on daddy duty. Guys, look at this. I'm telling you, the t-shirts were even better back then. This is one of my favorite t-shirts. I still keep it all these years after, man. All these years after. And it's just sad, man. Don't get me wrong. I'm not hating on the Xbox. I love my Xbox games, my Xbox 360 games. But anytime I get a chance to vent and just yell at these fuckers that destroyed the company, man, I just need to get it off my chest. You know what I'm saying? All right, humans, thank you so much for joining me. If you want to catch any outtakes, join the channel right here. If you want to get some coffee, tell me what you want a video about, you go over here. And that's it. Guys, I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.